Here's the tornado warning. It's in Warren County, and it does extend into western St. Charles County. Let's zoom in and get a closer look, and then we'll examine some of these other storms. I think this is the beginning of what will be a rather busy period the rest of the afternoon into at least the mid-evening, as a lot of these storms can produce higher-end hail, wind, and even some tornadoes. The rotation on this storm is going to pass south of Warrenton. It just kind of went over the Herman area, but we haven't heard of any damage. It wasn't as strong earlier when it came over Herman, but that rotation is right there. This is a hook echo, we call it, and it hooks on the southern flank of the storm. There's two parts of this storm that we're dealing with. One, large hail. If you're in Warrenton, don't go outside. Inside, away from windows. Huge hail, probably golf ball, maybe ping pong ball size, maybe even bigger, is about to head your way. Southern flank of the storm is where the rotation is, and that's where the tornado warning is. It's radar indicated north of Pinckney, south of Warrenton. If you look at that trajectory, I'll watch the loop one more time here. It looks like it's going to pass south. So I think Warrenton and Truesdale are going to get hammered by the heavy rain and large hail. Then the rotation, and it's radar indicated, is going to come along just south of Warrenton and eventually head towards western St. Charles County. There's Wentzville and New Melle. So that's the rotation we'll track. Let's get an idea of timing now that we know what's going on. Let me just take a quick look too. You're going to see me switch over to some Christmas colors, which is the radar velocity data. It's the Doppler winds that helps me try to pinpoint where the rotation is. And it's right on that southern flank, right where you see right here north of Pinckney. Okay, so that's where the hook echo is. Let's get back to the storm, and we'll keep it still. It's moving east at Leah, just double checking to make sure the speed hasn't changed. Is it 35 miles per hour still? East at 35? If that's...
I'm just checking now, 35 miles per hour.
Thank you, I appreciate that. New Melle, about 26 minutes. And assuming it's on this more easterly trek and stays on that 35 mile per hour speed, about 25 to 30 minutes into the New Melle area. And of course, that hail is a little farther out ahead. So if you're in Wentzville, I think you're looking more at the large hail that's hitting Warrenton right now. That would be in about 20 minutes, so that would get in a little earlier. That assumes this trajectory continues as it moves east. Sometimes these storms will start to split a little bit and turn to the right. I'm going to loop the radar again just to get that. Yeah, it's still moving. I think the hail might lift a little bit to the north, but generally that's the trend. So that Warrenton to Wentzville path in the next Warrenton through about 20 minutes into Wentzville. Notice the rain is out ahead. So I'm not trying to track when the rain's going to start here in Wentzville and Lake St. Louis right here, but I'm trying to give you an idea of the core of the storm when that's going to hit. And then of course the rotation there that would move through Warren County, kind of southern Warren County. We'll zoom in a little bit closer and see some of the towns that pop up here. Aspenhoff, it's going to be just north of you, probably have sirens going off. It's going to cross 47. The rotation is going to cross 47 in about a minute or two. The hail is on 47 and hitting Warrenton right now and hitting Truesdale. Innsbrook area, very shortly, you're going to kind of get squeezed in between. You're going to get some of this rain, maybe some of this hail, and we'll have to monitor that rotation. That potential tornado, again, radar indicated, if that lifts a little bit more to the north, it's more in the Innsbrook area. If it stays more to the east, it's more towards New Melle. I'm being real specific because that's what I like to do, give you that first alert, real specific on who's in a threat. If you're watching this and your town's not named, that's a good thing, but we do have other warnings out there that are not tornado warnings. We have severe thunderstorm warnings, and in those cases, you want to be inside and away from windows when those come through, one of which is just coming out of Franklin County into Jefferson County. I'm going to zoom in on that severe thunderstorm warning. Core of that storm with hail and potentially 60-mile-an-hour winds just southwest of Cedar Hill. That's going to move up. I think that's moving more northeast. Let me loop that for you, get an idea of the trajectory on that. Yeah, that's moving more northeast. So at about 35 miles an hour, the core in about 10 minutes is probably just southeast of Cedar Hill. And if I zoom in a little bit, we'll see some of the towns that pop up, Morse Mill, and eventually getting to 21. It's probably going to be a ways away from 21, but the core of that storm would hit 21 in about 18 minutes. Okay, let's get back to the tornado warning. That's why we're on the air right now, and we'll live stream on First Alert 4 weather app for you as well. So any folks that are in that Innsbrook to New Melle area, or maybe you're in Warrenton and Wentzville and you're hearing, well, the rotation's a little too close for comfort. I agree. But you may be heading down to the basement. Then you can head to your tablet, your phone, and go on the First Alert 4 weather app and make sure you get the live stream while you're down there. So if you don't have a TV, you can follow the coverage. If you're in Herman, you are in the clear. So that's good news there. This area is the area that we're most concerned with. Well, really, there's two areas that we're most concerned with, and I'm going to get rid of the box, the warning. The red box is the tornado warning. The biggest concern is right here, and that's going to be the tornado warning. So I know it looks small, but what's happening here, winds are wrapping around the storm. So you got this cool air wrapping around the storm, and it's hitting this warm air that's coming into the storm on this side. It's called the ingest air. So this warm air is ingesting into the storm, and as they hit and collide and spin and create that strong updraft, the updraft is spinning. So we see that on radar. We know the storm is spinning. We don't know if it's producing a tornado. So we're always honest with you, which radar indicated, but play it safe rather than sorry. Be indoors, away from windows, down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, the lowest level where you're putting as many walls between you and the outside, like an interior room, would be the safest place. The other area of concern is this area for large hail. So there's really kind of two aspects of this storm. No rotation here that would create a tornado, but just absolute downpours from Warrenton to Truesdale, and that's moving east just south and probably getting some hail. Some of this red is no doubt some hail, maybe quarter size on 70, but the core of that is kind of moving just south of 70 right there. If I switch over to the hail tracker, I think that does a real good job of highlighting it for you too, as it kind of strips away the areas of rain and focuses on the most likely, at least, areas for hail. And you can see we're kind of getting some of those yellows, which would be the larger, and that would be headed probably towards Wentzville, Lake St. Louis. But then on the southern flank, we got to watch for that potential rotation to turn into a tornado. And it's certainly strong enough that the National Weather Service has issued that tornado warning. So they see on radar, it's strong enough. We don't have eyes on the ground to know if it's hitting, but this is what helps keep people ahead of the storm. And so that's why we're here to give you that first alert, tornado warning. Warren County, it's in central Warren County now and headed towards western St. Charles County. Yeah, go ahead.
At Cam 1,
Okay.
we can see that
Little
lowering.
Yeah. Which camera is this that you're on?
This is O'Fallon,
O'Fallon. So this is Progress West Parkway,
looking west.
looking to the west. And yeah, that actually would be it, because if you look on radar here, I'm going to go back to that in a minute, where that, I'm going to draw a line from where that camera is, and that would be the eyes. So it's about 20 miles away, and that's what we're seeing. Let's go back to that. And I know the National Weather Service, we have a chat with them. Make sure they know that we're seeing this on our camera too. So what the lowering is as air is rushing up and spinning up into this, it's going up so fast that some of this water, the humidity, is condensing into a little cloud here. And so what we'll need to see is if that air tightens up closer to the ground and starts to create A, damage, or maybe B, more of a distinct funnel cloud. At this point, it looks like the air is just coming up into a rotating wall cloud there, that lowering. But that's the signal from Mother Nature. That's what storm chasers are looking for. That's what we're looking for, to give you the heads up that this is not an ordinary storm. This definitely is rotating. It has the potential to produce a tornado. At this point, it looks like it's above the ground, and it's a rotating wall cloud. Just a further signal that this thing is rotating, and we'll have to continue to monitor to see if it kind of starts to, the condensation funnel, we call it, starts to lower maybe towards the ground. And what that actually is, you see it lowering to the ground. What's actually happening is winds would actually be rotating on the ground already, just very broadly. You don't really notice it. And what happens is something tightens up that rotation. And so as that air that's rotating tightens up, it speeds up. And as it speeds up, then it has the ability to do damage on the ground. And that's what we'd be watching for. So that lowering right there, rotating wall cloud. And you got on chat with the Weather Service to make sure they see that? Great. I know they love eyes on, ground truth out there. And you see how it's moving. So we're looking to the west. This would be Highway K, by the way, and this is Interstate 64 out in O'Fallon, Missouri. This is Progress West Hospital on the BJC Skycam network. And so we're looking about 20 miles in the distance. It's at that lowering. And if I show you what that looks like on radar, because I always want to check back and see, that hook is still really distinct. It is really obvious. But that is from our camera. That's Highway K and Interstate 64, about 20 miles away. By the way, you see that little dome? That's the actual radar. Many of you heard from our stories here on First Alert 4 that the radar was undergoing repairs. The repairs finished this afternoon. Talk about timely, right? We would use other radars to see this storm, but we see it better when that is active. It is active, it is operational, and thankfully, good work from the National Weather Service to get that up and running. Okay, another warning just came through, and it looks like it's going to be a severe thunderstorm warning. Am I right on that, Leah?
Yes, severe thunderstorm
Morning until 4:30 p.m. Pike County
Okay.
and Calhoun.
I'm just going to zoom out generally because I want to get back to forecasting and tracking that rotating storm that has a potential produce a tornado. But we've got a severe thunderstorm warning down here. Leah, will you also keep an eye on that? That's moving into southern Jefferson County. She's got another machine that can look at radar, and she's going to analyze it and let me know if she sees any rotation. Obviously, none strong enough to warrant a tornado warning at this point. And then, I mean, look at all these yellow boxes. Any of those storms can produce large hail, damaging winds. What we'll also be looking for is any kind of little rotation, usually on the southern, southwestern flanks. So if you're in Pike County, just be indoors, be away from windows. A couple storms hitting right now. If you're in Troy, we're going to be watching this one come your way. Another Flying Eagle, Flying V signature there, by the way. Do you see that, Leah? So that little V shape, that's a really strong updraft. Usually that results in some pretty good size hail. And then, of course, down here, that hook echo, that's what we're focused on. Let's get back to that BJC Skycam. And looks a little more ragged, but it is still that lowering. By the way, it takes a team. I just want to thank Leah, meteorologist Leah Hill. She's got eyes on a lot of things right now. Our chat with the National Weather Service, she's analyzing other storms while I focus on this one, and she's keeping an eye on the BJC Skycam. So great job, Leah, appreciate it. So that lowering then is about 20 miles away from this camera, and it is not producing a distinct funnel. So what's likely happening is air is rotating up into it, creating that lowering that you see right there. And so as air rushes up, rotating into it, it's not strong enough from the ground up to there to create damage, and thus it's not a tornado at this point. It's radar indicated, still strong. National Weather Service is still monitoring it. They just said in our chat, thanks for the camera shot. Thank you guys for everything you're doing. We got golf ball size hail reported, by the way, in Wright City. That's a brand new report, golf ball size in Wright City. So this storm, as it moves, it's the same storm with the rotation. As that moves into eastern and then eastern Warren County and western St. Charles County, this is the county line. This would be Warren County. This would be St. Charles County. There's Wright City, golf ball. So not even in the core. And sometimes you see the core here, but the hail's actually falling just outside the core. So don't focus just on the purple. The hail is bobbing up and down in the storm and growing bigger, bigger, and bigger. Eventually it gets so heavy, it has to fall out of the storm. And sometimes it falls out of the storm, maybe just north of where you see the core or even just south. So Wright City, golf ball size hail. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting some reports, maybe even bigger than that, like ping pong ball size hail. There's the rotation. And I know it looks meager, but keep in mind, a tornado is air rushing up. So when a tornado happens, you're not going to see a big blob of rain right where the tornado is. The rain is going to be to the north. The air is actually rushing up here, and that's why there's a little bit of a void right here in the rainfall, because the rain can't come down, so the radar's not seeing any rain, because the air is rushing up and throwing that rain upwards and out into other parts of the storm. And so what we're seeing here is ingesting warm air on this side, and then cool air coming out of this hail and all that rain flowing around like that. And right at that intersection point is where we're seeing on that BJC cam. Can you keep an eye on that? You probably have to keep moving it to the west as well. Okay. But that is the point where we're seeing that lowering from the ground. Thanks, Leah. I appreciate that. I'm going to check that out.
Take a closer look at that storm to the south. I am seeing broad rotation near just east of the Richwoods area.
Okay. Let's see here. So the storm that was farther south moving out of Franklin into Jefferson County, is that the one you're referring to?
Correct.
Okay. Great. So we've got actually 2 warnings on that. There's another one that's actually in Washington, another one that's in Jefferson now. So we have this one here, that broad rotation, probably right here. Is that where you're referring to, southwest side of that storm?
Yeah, that's the one.
So we got to monitor this section of the storm. We have hail probably. I mean, it's likely we've got hail. So south of Cedar Hill there, Morse Mill, you've got hail. And then a little farther south, we'll have to monitor. That's right around going towards Hillsborough. So this is the broad rotation that she was talking about. Thanks again, Leah, for spotting this one. And I'll get back to the tornado warning and Warren and St. Charles County coming up in a second. So this is air coming this way. The red shows air or raindrops moving this way. And because we can see the speed and direction of those raindrops, we know that there is rotation right there. Very broad, not a tornado warning, but definitely something that has our eyes and we're going to have to monitor. The thing is, even if it's not rotating real strong down near the ground, it can be rotating up above. And those rotating storms may not produce a tornado, but they tend to. The supercells, that's what we call them, the strong rotating storms, they tend to produce the largest hail. And as far as hail goes out of that storm, it looks like it's going to be mainly moving just north. You're going to get some hail in Hillsborough, but I think the core here is going to head towards 21 just north of Hillsborough. And maybe even eventually, if it holds together, that could end up towards Barnard and Peevely. If it's moving east at about 35, just to give you an idea of the hail core there, you would get to around 55 in about 16 minutes. So Hillsborough's probably going to get some hail, but I think the larger, maybe golf ball, ping pong ball size hail, probably going to stay to the north, and we'll monitor that storm for any enhanced rotation. Down a little farther south, more storms that can produce gusty 60-mile-an-hour winds here, just southwest and coming at Richwoods. And then another one down near Steelville, just south of Steelville right now. And then here's another one that doesn't have a warning. I mean, they're just lining up. So let me just take a step back and we'll get back to the tornado warning and monitoring that. But here's the big picture. Lots of storms flaring up in an environment that replenished the storm fuel after the admittedly stronger than expected storms from this morning. So after that, we end up with the atmosphere becoming unstable and these storms flaring up. It's why we have a tornado watch that goes until 9 o'clock. By the way, you're watching an early edition of First Alert 4 at 4 right now. I'm giving a big recap of what we're tracking with severe weather, the threats through 9 o'clock, and then I'm going to dig in on the specific storms that could be producing large hail, damaging winds, and yes, even a tornado. So tornado watch. Watch means you're watching for the possibility of severe weather. Stay alert. But an actual warning means it could be happening now. One is radar indicated, and you see that in the red box right there. So we have an atmosphere that's replenished the storm fuel. We have the storms flaring up, and I think we're going to be pretty busy for the next 4 hours, at least 4 hours. And eventually by late evening, while we still may have some storms late evening, any severe threat will be southeast and east of the area. Let's zoom in on that storm that we've been tracking with a hook echo that looks like it was right over Innsbruck, just went over Innsbruck. So if in the Innsbruck area, kind of a populated, what do I say, cabins and whatnot, and there's going to be some people there. So typically when you have these hook echoes in the rural areas, you may not know if there's any damage. You don't get the reports for a while, but this just went over Innsbruck. So if we do have anything that's touching the ground and creating damage, we would probably hear about it pretty shortly. Any damage reports coming in, by the way, as I check in with Leah?
No damage reports. That storm that was near Innsbruck, I did get a report that the hail now was up to golf ball size. Golf ball.
So that's actually not in Innsbruck, but it's a storm near Innsbruck. You're absolutely right. It's that stuff right there. So, and it was golf ball, and what'd you say?
Well, it was reported in Wright City, but it was with that same storm. Same
storm, absolutely. So this cell that's just northeast of Innsbruck, and then this, well, I'll get rid of the red box that represents the warning, the tornado warning. Now you can see a little more clearly. So any of that red and purple, up to golf ball size hail is what we're hearing out of that. And that's a confirmed report coming in out of Wright City. So that's like one aspect of the storm. Let's track that. That's one thing I haven't done in quite a while. We were kind of giving a heads up to Innsbruck and then New Melly and then Wentzville. Well, Wentzville, you're in that hail now. And again, the rotation looks like it may just miss you to the south. But let's see who it's getting to next, because you can see that rotation, which is right here, has now gotten east of Innsbruck. If you're in Innsbruck and west, you're in the clear from this particular cell. This is going towards Pauldingville and western St. Charles County. That line right there is the county line. Warren County to the west, St. Charles County to the east. Forestell, hammered with heavy rain and hail, but you're missing any rotation. You still want to be inside and away from windows. And of course, that stretches all the way east. Got a long 70. This hail kind of lifted a little bit as it's crossing 70. And then Wentzville, you're into it. And I would expect in Wentzville, the hail size will actually probably increase here. But we are going to continue to track this rotation. But we're not only doing it from First Alert radar, but we also have crews that are out on the roads. They don't want to intercept the storm, but they want to be nearby so that if we do get some damage, that they can report it and let us know ground truth what's happening. And that's what you're seeing right here. So this is one of the First Alert 4 crews. They are in St. Peter's. I assume they're on 70 out there, right?
Checking their location now.
And let's see here. If they're in St. Peter's on 70, just tell that crew, I'm going to talk to Abby, my producer. Tell that crew that they're about to get hit with heavy rain and hail. It's coming at them probably in about
tornado warning for
minutes.
Jefferson County.
Say that again?
Tornado warning, Jefferson County.
Okay. And tell them not to go south, Abby. Let's get back to the radar, guys. We've got another tornado warning. This is the one that had that broad rotation. Leah had brought it to our attention. So you see it here. The big yellow box is a severe thunderstorm warning. The red box is a tornado warning. We were indicating some of that broad rotation, but it hadn't strengthened yet. Let's zoom in right on the Hillsborough area. That's probably right where it is. It's coming at you at least. And so the rotation would be right about in this area. This is already northeast of Fletcher, Maupin in the clear, south of Cottage Farm, and this is headed towards Hillsborough and 21. So this is going to, well, there's an update for you. The radar just updated. It's pretty much over Hillsborough now. So if you're in Hillsborough, Doppler radar indicated tornado warning. Be inside, away from windows, and down in the basement. So if you don't have a basement, be at the lowest level and an interior room where you're putting as many walls between you and the outside. This is radar indicated, I believe. We double check on that. And
Radar indicated.
thank you. And I am going to go ahead and get the speed on this too as we track it and show who's next. But Hillsborough right now, so anywhere around Hillsborough, Jefferson College, up and down 21, want to be inside and down in the basement or in your safe, tornado safe room. And this is moving to the, let's see, east at about 30 miles an hour. Let me get an idea on the trajectory here. I always like to double check, especially since these things can change. So we're going to loop the radar here. I would say a little bit more northeast, but it is more east than northeast. So this would be more like the Festus area could be next. So let's put a larger track on that from around Hillsborough at about 30 miles an hour to the east, a little bit northeast. That gets it into Mappaville in about 9 minutes. I mentioned Festus would be about 17 minutes. Herculaneum in about 20 minutes. Getting into Illinois now, Valmeyer in 32 minutes, and Wartburg and Burkesville in about 40 minutes. So this could cross over into the Monroe County, Illinois side of the river in about 20 minutes or so. That is Doppler indicated. Rotation is right here over Hillsborough. And one of the things that's really challenging, I think, for some folks, this is one of those things where you'll be in a tornado warning, and then I'm not going to say all clear when it passes, because look what's behind it. This is called training, where storms train over an area. They hit again and they hit again. Let's hope they don't develop rotation. If they do, we'll be here to let you know about it. But what it does mean is that if there is any damage or if things calm down a little bit, it's probably best not to go out and investigate, because you're about to get hit by this storm in Hillsborough in about 20 minutes. So you're under the gun now with a tornado warning, and then you'll have more storms behind it with at least heavy rain and hail, maybe some gusty winds, and of course lightning, and I don't want you out in that. So that is a new tornado warning. There it is in southern Jefferson County. Looks like the rotation, again, headed a little more towards the kind of Festus area. I'm going to rotate, or I'm going to loop the radar here.
Steve, while you're looking at that, we did just get a picture of that tornado warned storm that's near the one near Festus, and I see a distinct lowering on it, but I do not see anything other than that. I don't see any confirmed tornadoes.
Okay, appreciate it. And that's the other tornado warning that was up in Warren and moving into St. Charles County?
That's the one near Hillsborough.
Oh, that's this one. Okay,
Yes,
so
the
we've
one you
got
just on.
we've got pictures from spotters or management out there.
That is from a viewer photo that we
Okay.
saw.
So we're getting some eyes. And again, when you get in more populated areas, you kind of get these reports a little quicker, which is great. We like ground truth because we want to tell you exactly what's going on. But that storm has the potential to produce tornado. Radar indicated at this point right over Hillsborough. Moving to the east, I would say somewhere between Festus and Peevely in about 13 minutes. So, if you're around 55, anywhere in between Festus and Peevely, you got about 10, 13 minutes or so before this rotation comes right over you, potentially producing a tornado. We hope it doesn't, but we hope you play it safe rather than sorry. The way I like to think about it is when you get in your car, you don't think you're going to be in an accident, but you should buckle up. Well, this is a case where you should just buckle up, and you buckle up, come up out of the basement. Hopefully there's no damage and the storm moves east and doesn't produce a tornado. But if it does, you're going to be in the right spot and you're going to be safe, or you and your family are going to be safe. That's what we want from this. So you're also going to hear me repeat myself sometimes about being inside, away from windows, down in the basement. If you hear that a few times, it's because, trust me, when this is happening in your neighborhood, it's happening to you and your family, I think those words of this is exactly what you need to do can help and maybe reduce the anxiety. Because if you have a way to get the warning, if you're watching us, you got the warning, and then you know what to do, you're most likely going to be in a safe spot. It's not a real strong signature here. It's Doppler radar indicated, but it's right over Hillsborough. Mappaville would be next. It's probably crossing 21 right now, and then Mappaville would be next. Hematite probably just north of you for that rotation. I'm focused on the rotation right there. In fact, one more time on the track here, and we'll then go up and take a look at that other tornado warning. But one more time on the track, east, a little bit northeast at about 30 miles per hour. And so Hillsborough now, Mappaville I mentioned next, about 10 minutes. It says Festus in 21 minutes. That was 17 earlier. Maybe it was 35 miles per hour. Let's try that different speed here, and I think we'll get a better timing. So Mappaville's now down to 8 minutes. Yeah, Festus 16, Mitchie in about 22, Valmeyer in Illinois in about 30 minutes. I see some new severe thunderstorm warnings coming out. We'll get to those in a second. Let me just go analyze the other tornado warning.
I have a picture of it from St. Peter's in BJC Skycam 2.
In 2, okay.
And just see the lowering, which I just want to note.
And that's still progress west? You've just moved the camera?
This is St. Peter's
Orange
one.
St. Peter's.
Yeah.
BJC Skycam Network coming in really handy here, giving us the ground truth. And we haven't heard of any reports of damage from this. So far, we've seen with our eyes the ground truth of this actually lowering, but not quite looking like it was doing any damage on the ground. We didn't see what we call the condensation funnel all the way to the ground or even halfway, which is usually a good indication that there could be damage on the ground. So we haven't seen that as of yet out of this, which is good news. But there's still a tornado warning on this storm as it moves east at about 35 miles an hour, and I still see a pretty good hook on it. Let me zoom in on this one. We'll analyze this, and we'll get to some of the new warnings. When I do that, Leah, I'm going to come to you for those, okay? But let's get more analysis on this Wentzville storm. Wentzville, you got hit by the hail. The rotation is actually on the south side and coming at Lake St. Louis. So that rotation we were just showing you, I'm going to get rid of the box. We'll see if they extend this tornado warning. That would be an indication that the rotation is still pretty strong. But right now they haven't, because it's kind of getting to the end of the tornado warning. But the bottom line is, if you're in Wentzville, you should be indoors away from windows because you've just been hit by heavy hail. And then if you're Lake St. Louis, be down in the basement because that rotation is coming right at you. If you are on the south side of 70, basically, and you see Lake St. Louis right here, and the rotation is right here. See that hook? So what's happening is the cool air from that rain and the hail is rushing around here. If I draw it with arrows, I think visually you'll get to see what's happening here. And so this air is coming in like this, and then you've got this warm, unstable, humid air that was replenished after the morning storms, and that was our fear that we were going to warm up, and it's what we expected. It got warm, it got humid, and now we have that unstable air flowing into the storm, so it's ingesting this warm air, and then right at that intersection, right around here, anywhere along this hook, you can end up with a tornado developing. But so far, from our eyes in the sky, from the BJC Skycam network, and you may have to keep kind of panning that a little bit, I think. We're looking, oh, because that's Highway K, that's 64 right there. Yeah, just keep, I don't see, it's not as distinct as it was earlier, or we.
It's not. They are saying, the National Weather Service, that they, at this point, they do plan to extend that warning further into St. Charles County.
Okay.
That's a new tornado warning. That's the one that I was just mentioning.
And so you're hearing alerts go off because that actually goes into St. Louis County. See all that red? That is a tornado warning now for St. Louis County. There is the hook right here. It's coming right at Lake St. Louis. It's going to cross Interstate 64 here very shortly. And let me just zoom in on that particular cell a little more closely. You've got two kind of sections of this storm here. You've got the hail up here, and then you've got the rotation. I still think Wentzville, especially the north, as you get north of 70, it's just hail that you've been hit with. But the rotation, the potential for a tornado, kind of right on this section of the storm, that's headed right towards Lake St. Louis. So I would say even Darting Prairie, it may just miss you, but it's going to be really, really close. And do you have a speed on that? Are we still at?
Still 45 miles per hour now.
45. That's
and I also want to note it is still radar indicated.
That's important. Thank you for that. So it looks like in the latest scan too. Let me bow out of this and kind of get back to that hook. It looked like the hook kind of retreated to the north. You see that? Yeah, it did. That could be good. Like I said, on camera, it didn't look as distinct. Let's hope that's the case. In fact, so what I'm seeing is, well, hook here is kind of retreated up. It's good news for Darting Prairie so far, but if you're in Darting Prairie, you should be down in the basement. We want you in a safe place, inside, away from windows. Basement if you have it, if you don't, lowest level where you're putting as many walls between you and the outside. If you're in O'Fallon north of 70, you're getting hit by some of the hail, but that rotation is going to basically follow 70 here. So like St. Paul would be fine. You're just getting hit with heavy rain and hail, but especially in kind of in the O'Fallon near 70, that's getting into an area where that rotation is going to pass through. In fact, we have crews that are out there. They were in St. Peter's earlier. Let's check in on that crew and see what they can see. First Alert 4 crews on the road. Where are they exactly right now?
They're just approaching Lake St. Louis, looks like.
Okay.
That's Jim Thomas's crew. They're approaching Lake St. Louis on the east side.
That's Jim Thomas. So First Alert 4 is Jim Thomas, and crew are, and Nathan Vickers. Sorry, Nathan. And I don't see a real strong signature, but I still want them to go a little bit north. So here's what I'll say. Next exit, I actually want them just to get off at the exit, go north. They don't have to go north far. They're going to get hit with heavy rain and hail, but I'd rather have them hit with that than any kind of rotation. And it sounds like Nathan can actually hear me. Nathan, are you in the car? What are you seeing right now? It sounds like you're getting hail in the car. Am I right?
Yeah. You can hear that hail really hitting the car hard. We can hear you, and so I'm having Jim pull off the road here to turn north. We're getting some really heavy rain. We're getting those, looks like smaller pieces of hail, but they're really hitting the car hard as we're pulling off here. We've kind of been watching this as we're coming up. Oh, you can see it on the pavement here as we're turning. We're looking at about popcorn-sized hail that's coming down from the sky and hitting us as we're turning north here on the interstate. We're going to continue heading north here, Jim, to follow where this is going. But the traffic's been pretty slow. I think drivers have been paying attention to this and trying to heed the warnings. Okay, now it's lightening up a little. We're probably half a mile north of I-70 at this point, but that's kind of what we're seeing now.
You're good. You're good. You're fine. You're behind the storm. Basically what we did is we drove you through some heavy rain and hail to get you on the safer backside of the storm, as opposed to the southern flank of the storm, which has the rotation. Although I have seen that rotation kind of weakening lately, so that's the really good news. Glad you're safe, Nathan. You'll probably end up kind of staying there and turning around and maybe following the backside of the storm. If we do get any damage, we'll try to position you nearby it. And folks, that's what we're trying to do with our crews. We don't want them running into a tornado. What we do want them to be is near storm damage so that we can report it to you and report that ground truth, but we want them safe. They have radar in the vehicle, and they know where the warnings are, they know where they're located, and then they can hear me and I can reposition them. And if we need to do that with anyone else, Abby, please let me know, but they're in a safe spot. They're totally good. And again, we're not seeing any, well, not real significant lowering. I mean, you see probably a little scud cloud is what we call that. They're from Progress West Hospital on the BJC Skycam network. I'll switch back over to the warnings, and then I'm going to loop this. And then I'm going to kind of focus back down near Festus, because remember, there's rotation headed towards Festus that has a radar-indicated tornado warning. So that rotation is right in this southern flank right here, and all this is hail. And what Nathan kind of just drove through, they were probably right here around 61. He just kind of drove through this sliver. So I put him up here. He would be here now because he's in the clear, as opposed to going down and getting hit by this, the potential rotation. So that rotation's sliding right along 70. Keep an eye on Barnes Jewish St. Peter's, the BJC Skycam out there. That's probably right about here, very near Mid-Rivers Mall. And if we look to the west, I doubt we're going to see that lowering because it's a little weaker signature, but you still see that little hook. See that little finger right there? So that's still warm air ingesting in, cold air wrapping around. And that tornado warning was extended into St. Louis, by the way. And so that's what we're tracking. There's really two aspects to this storm, though. I'm going to highlight the rotation right here. That is right around Lake St. Louis. Still be inside, away from windows, down in the basement if you're in Lake St. Louis. And then, and even Darting Prairie, even though I see that hook has retreated a little north of you, let's just play it safe for about 5 more minutes. O'Fallon getting hammered right now, and that would head towards St. Charles and Newtown and 370. Let's get a timing on some of this too, and I'll get rid of the box so we get a little better idea. I'm going with rotation first, and we're going to zoom in and get real specific. So this, I believe she said 45 miles per hour now. St. Peter's. So you're talking like over by the Recplex in about 10 minutes or so. By 370 and 70, right in about 11 minutes or so. And then St. Charles, this is the rotation I'm tracking, that would be in about 18 minutes. So there's the track of rotation, which so far doesn't look like it has produced a tornado. We haven't heard of any damage. We saw a rotating wall cloud on the BJC Skycam network, so we saw that lowering cloud. That's visual evidence of a rotating storm that could produce a tornado at any moment. That's why we're here, giving you the first alert, so that if it does, you're in a safe spot. And then, of course, the other aspect of the storm is all this red and purple, large hail out of this, and that's headed towards kind of northern St. Louis County and then the northern and eastern parts of St. Charles County. So what I'm going to do here is I've tracked for you more specifically the rotation, again, 18 minutes in St. Charles, but I also want to put a bigger track on the storm in general and move it to the east. Go to about 40 here. So remember, the northern side here is going to be mostly hail. The southern side here is where we're going to watch the rotation. But that's Campville in about 5 minutes, Black Walnut in 18 minutes, St. Charles says about 24 minutes with that little slower speed I put on 40 miles an hour instead of 45. West Alton about 30 minutes, and then Wood River into Illinois in about 41 minutes. So, you know, you've got a tornado warning here that covers a vast part of St. Louis County that will be unaffected. So this is why we say, you know, severe weather is not a guarantee it's going to happen to you, but the ingredients are there that this could flare up. And indeed it is right along this path here. So if you're down in Maryland Heights and U City, we got to monitor this. We'll see if anything starts to either come our way from a different angle, or if the rotation starts to turn right, as we say, and dive south. I see no evidence of that right now. But otherwise, this southern portion of the tornado warning is right now monitoring and not likely to get hit unless something changes. Leah, do you want to take a look at the Festus tornado warning? I know it has shrunk recently, but maybe on Max 2 you can kind of highlight where that rotation is moving into.
I also want to highlight, we've been watching that storm near, let me get an update on where that is currently located. But that tornado warning storm that's in St. Charles County that we've been following, I have eyes on it. I've just updated, and you can see right here, this is the lowering, but I'm not seeing anything touching the ground. So that's important to note. That is still above the surface, and we have a distinct lowering. We have certainly what looks like a wall cloud, and you can see that air is being fed into it here on the right side of your image, but I'm not seeing any extension to the ground. So this tornado warning storm still very much is radar indicated, but actually just with the last couple of scans, this area, again, it is feeding in some more, so we're gonna have to watch that very closely. And you said the Festus storm?
Yeah, take a look at that rotation.
Let's see. While that's coming, we're getting a new tornado, or no, new
Severe
severe
thunderstorm
thunderstorm warning. Calhoun, Illinois, Greene County, Illinois, Jersey, Lincoln, Pike, Missouri. And that is the severe thunderstorm warning. 1.5-inch hail that is roughly ping pong ball size.
We got some 2-inch reports in O'Fallon and Lake St. Louis I see here as I scan the chat, by the way.
You mentioned that. I've actually got a picture of it.
Okay.
This was in Richwood, but they did measure that 2-inch hail. So here's our little marker right here, and that's the 2-inch hail.
Okay, let's get back to the radar here at the wall, and I want to show you that storm that we're just talking about, focusing on Festus. They actually just extended the tornado warning. Same storm cell, but see that new red box that goes into Monroe County, includes Waterloo? You're now in a tornado warning. So a whole new host of people are going to start hearing sirens going off, and in fact, we've got from the storm that's in St. Louis County, look at that, 532,000 people in that tornado warning. The one that's near Festus is 26,000 plus 11 south, 37,000. So, we've got almost 600,000 people in tornado warnings right now. The one that we're monitoring to the north so far, it looks like it's lowering but not producing a tornado. It's radar indicated right there. And then there's one near Festus. Let's dig in on the data on that and see what's going on. If you're in Festus, we need you downstairs in the basement. That hook's coming right through you right now. And I'd give it about 5 minutes, and you're going to be, I don't want to say in the clear because you're going to get more rain and hail and maybe even lightning, a lot of lightning probably. But as far as the rotation, that's right there. And as a new radar scan comes in, it'll update to the east eventually. But that's the area of rotation right over Festus right now. It's crossing 55. It's not a real strong signature, but it's strong enough to warrant the tornado warning. There could be, especially right over Festus. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So what we're noticing here, what I'm looking at, is the green represents raindrops that are going towards the radar, especially this red right here, that brighter red, that's stronger. So it is a little stronger outflow right here. And right in between is where you would end up with rotation and a possible tornado. So it would be on 55 in Festus and probably going right over Crystal City, and then the radar update. So now it's going to be to the east. So that's where it was. Let's see where it is right now. And the next scan has jumped it right here. It's now through Crystal City, and it's now into Monroe County, headed towards Maystown.
Steve, we're getting a report of larger than golf ball size hail near Lake St. Louis, or we're getting some images. I don't know if these are delayed reports or if they just came in.
Let me, you know what, they probably just came in. Let me get to that and get to you in a second because I do want to see that, but thank you for jumping in with the report. So just to mention, golf ball or greater than golf ball out of that storm that's hitting Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon would be included in that, and that's coming right at St. Peter's. But right now, the storm that was rotating over Festus, the rotation is now to the east of you. If you're in the basement in Festus, you can come up. But again, I hesitate to say go outside. You don't want to inspect if there is any damage. You don't want to inspect it. It's going to be raining, lightning, and hail as there's new storms coming right at you. Let's get an idea of where this storm is going next. And before I do that, I have to just see what we've got as far as speed goes on this. East at 30 miles per hour. So what I'm going to do is switch back over to get rid of the boxes, just focus on the radar, and that hook. Well, it's less of a hook, it's more of an inflow notch here, but it's right in here, and it's now east of Festus. And if I move that to the east at about 30 miles per hour, there's 28, 29 miles per hour. There we go. So Mitchie now, you see Maystown I mentioned, that's about 11 minutes. And then Tipton, about 26 minutes. Redbud in about 38 minutes. So that's the rotation from the tornado warning coming out of Festus into Monroe County. It's radar indicated at this point. It has a lot of hail on it on the northern flank here. And then the rotation would be right here, probably just east of Crystal City at this point. So warning's back on. You're going to see the red box represents the tornado warning. But again, that rotation is kind of just east of Festus. So, and this is why I say you're not in the clear. See, these are the other storms that are coming your way. That one looks pretty heavy with hail, not rotating at this point that would produce a tornado
We just got
warning.
a tornado warning for downtown St. Louis. Or sorry, severe thunderstorm warning. Severe thunderstorm warning for downtown St. Louis.
Yeah, I see that now. And man, that just popped up. Look at that. Look at this, folks. Boom. Right over us. You want to pop in the 360 at Hilton Ballpark?
Getting that up now.
And we'll see what camera slot do you want? I want to see how heavy this rain
It's
is.
in camera slot 3.
Thank you.
This is looking out west over Market Street.
Yeah. Absolute downpour. Hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds is going to be the threat in downtown. And this thing just flared up like that. I'll show you on the radar this as it pretty much wasn't there a few minutes ago. This is why it takes a team. We've got eyes everywhere. I'm analyzing the tornado warning in Festus, Crystal City, moving towards Maystown, and all of a sudden, Leah tells me, boom, we've got a warning over St. Louis, and that flared up really quickly. There's another cell to the south, too. See how this is coming in? This may clip downtown as well. So this one, brand new warning, but it's a severe thunderstorm warning. Heavy rain, lots of hail, and lightning, and I'm checking in to see rotation. I don't see rotation on that yet. That's good news. I don't see real strong rotation on the storm that is in, well, it's now the rotation. If it's going to produce tornado, it's going to be on the southwest side. I don't see a real strong rotation signature there, but it's right around 70. And First Alert 4's Nathan Vickers is on the backside of the storm, and he's been seeing, actually he drove through this hail, but he's been seeing firsthand some of that hail. Nathan, are you with us right now? And how big do you estimate some of that hail is?
Yeah, Steve, you said it perfectly earlier. You got us behind the storm, so we were able to catch the tail end of it. And yeah, we're seeing some of this hail. I gathered some up. We're seeing this ping-pong-sized hail here scattered throughout the parking lot here in the Lake St. Louis area. We're just north of I-70, and that's what we're seeing coming down on us here. Now, it hit pretty hard for a very short burst, and then it kept moving east. In fact, if you look over here, to the east, just north of I-70, you can see where the skies are still very dark behind me. So it's like you said, we're behind it. It's moving away from us now. But that hail like this is scattered everywhere. So you can see some of it over on the grass over there. But for now, everything's calmed down here quite a bit in this Lake St. Louis area just north of I-70.
Well, I'm glad you're safe, Nathan. Thank you. Appreciate your coverage. You know, he was in a good spot. If there was any damage, he wouldn't be in the damage, but he would be near it to give you the ground truth, and that's what we aim to do. And so far, Leah, I'm going to check in with you. I haven't heard, except for the big hail, I haven't heard of, trees down, power lines down. I haven't heard of anything like that. Have you?
No, nothing like that. I've been checking around with the National Weather Service chat. I've been checking around with social media reports, and I haven't seen, just from what I've seen, we haven't had any confirmation. Everything has been radar indicated with all the storms that we've been tracking. And I just saw a picture of the storm that's down near Festus. And again, it's looking like the rotation within that storm. It is tornado warned, but the rotation is elevated. So it hasn't yet quite hit the ground. And it's when that rotation hits the ground that we have a tornado. And that is something that I have not seen. I am still seeing some pretty broad rotation on it, and there is certainly a lowering from that storm. These are the winds coming into it. This is that little spin right here. It's just east of Festus, east of 55, and that is now moving into Illinois. Again, it's elevated rotation. It's above the surface. There is a lowering from the cloud base based on some photos that I've seen, but nothing that is actually hitting the ground. So I am tracking that very closely. And same thing with the St. Charles storm. I actually just got a report as well from St. Charles that this is in Weldon Spring, a National Weather Service employee reported 3-inch hail, which would be teacup size. That is roughly, that is
big.
That is damaging hail. I hope their cars are okay.
You don't hear us say teacup size hail very often. the hail size is an actual chart that we all go by so we can kind of be all on the same page. All right, First Alert 4 at 4:30 starts now with more storm coverage. Let me give you the big picture here and show you what's going on. We're tracking 2 tornado warnings that are in red boxes. One has now moved just east of Festus. Another is riding down 70, a little weaker rotation, but boy, we got to monitor it. And then everything, including the red boxes, but all those yellow boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings where we could get damaging wind, and we are getting large hail, golf ball or even larger teacup-sized hail. We do have a tornado watch that goes until 9 p.m. And I want to show you a little bigger picture before I dig back into the nitty-gritty details here. The cold front's just off to the west. So we have warnings on the storms that are out ahead of the front. They were actually sparked by outflow boundary from the morning storms, by the way. And then we actually have warnings along the front. So this is going to be several more hours of dealing with severe thunderstorms, maybe some more tornadoes, tornado warnings, I should say, because we haven't confirmed any tornadoes, and several more hours of storm coverage. And we'll be here with you for it all along. If you end up having a warning where you have to run to the basement, or if you're out and about, the First Alert 4 weather app is where you can turn to for live streaming. It provides you location-based warnings too. I say that because really the first thing you have to do is have a way to get the warning and know what's going on. That's the first step to staying safe. The second step is having a plan. Let's dig in on the details here. 2 warnings. Let's start south down around Festus. I've noticed that inflow notch kind of strengthened as it heads towards Maystown. If you are in Festus, you're in the clear now as far as rotation. The rotation is right here to the east. Crystal
Steve,
City.
did you just talk about Maystown, Illinois?
Maystown. That's where it's headed right now.
Yeah, the National Weather Service just popped in to say that it's classic supercell signature, and they believe that a tornado is possible at any time.
Okay. All right. So the signature has strengthened. It would be right about here, headed towards Maystown. You got to be inside, away from windows, and down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, you want to be on the lowest level and then put as many walls between you and the outside. Usually that's an interior room without windows. So this is a little stronger signature. You heard Leah say supercell. That's a persistently rotating storm. They produce the largest hail. They produce strong winds. But of course, that rotation can turn into a tornado as well. And we're hearing on our instant message chat with the Weather Service that is a good potential. So classic supercell. Let me switch back over to the radar, and you'll actually kind of see that rotation. I'm going to highlight it for you, but you can see it in the rain. So remember, when a storm's rotating, the raindrops are going to go with the wind, right? So here's what's happening. Wind is going like this and flowing up this way, and then you've got what we call inflow, which is air flowing even out of the forward flank. This is the forward flank part of the storm, and flowing into this notch. So right around here is where you would end up with a tornado. I'm going to switch over to
Also, look at the airport when you get a chance.
Will do.
In Cam 1.
Will do. I'm just checking the debris tracker, and I don't see anything real obvious there. And you said in BJC Cam 1?
Yes, you can see distinct lowering.
Yeah, right at the airport. Keep an eye on that, and we'll get back to that in a second. Maystown, real strong signature, and I'm going to get back to this on the BJC Skycam network. It's a separate storm. So just want to show you what I was focusing on radar is not this storm. That's the storm coming at the airport in St. Louis. And then as I switch back over to the radar, we'll zoom back in. Pretty strong signature for a strongly rotating storm and maybe a tornado hitting Maystown right now. As I was showing you the rotation of the winds whipping the raindrops around here and then the ingest here, this is right where there will be a tornado right over Maystown. And I don't see anything on that debris tracker. Well, now I do, but it's not quite a hole. See how it trails down this way? So what the debris tracker is trying to do, this bothers me a little bit. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. We'll see if the Weather Service might confirm that if it's a tornado debris signature. But what we're looking for are these little areas of blue that would show that the atmosphere has stuff in it that's all different shapes. And if you can match that up exactly, usually it's kind of more circular as opposed to this. But if you can match that up exactly where you think that tornado is in that rotation, usually that different sized objects in the air, usually they are pieces of roof tile or tree branches, and you know that there's been some debris lofted into the air. So again, right there, Maystown. Where is it going next? Let's show you. This is
confirmed tornado near Maystown per the National Weather Service.
And is that confirmed by radar or confirmed by
They are confirming
Spotters.
it by a debris signature on their radar.
That's what that is. So basically, when you hear confirmed, you have to figure out if this is radar confirmed or spotter. So while there's no eyes on the ground, the National Weather Service has the expertise, and we were just showing you the correlation, the debris tracker, sorry, we technically call it correlation coefficient, but the debris tracker was showing that right over Maystown, there could be debris in the air, and it must have been that little circle. So usually it doesn't extend out. So it's not going to be this or this. It's not going to, or what's happening is you've got stuff that's lofted into the air and then it's floating downstream and the radar's picking up on that. But it's right here that's confirming the tornado, and it's right on Maystown. So if you're in Maystown, you got to give it another about 5 minutes or so before you head up out of that safe spot in the basement, preferably. If not, it's that lowest level, as many walls in between you and the outside. We've got radar showing us such a strong signature and confirming a tornado debris signature that we know that there's debris lofted in the air there. And that is Maystown in Monroe County. This is the storm, by the way, that came across Festus, Crystal City. You're in the clear as far as the rotation goes. And I'm staying on that debris tracker just to see if that next scan comes up and it advances. And see if it advances and it's still there, then you know that the tornado's still on the ground. I'll get back to it in a second. Let me just switch over to, oh man, the hook's a little more obvious now, right there. Okay, I said I'd track this, show you where it's going next. First thing I need to do is figure out the speed on this. And you see that black outline? That's just a visual cue to me when I'm out here that I can see that this has been confirmed. But of course, it's radar confirmed that we know there's debris in the air. And we have this moving east at 30 miles an hour. So let's get a track of who's next with the rotation. And that's what I'm going to focus on here because we have a confirmed, radar confirmed tornado moving east here. Not going to focus on this purple you see, which is the hail section of the storm. So tornado, St. Joe, Tipton, then Redbud. Redbud in about 22 minutes. And I'm going to get rid of the boxes, focus in on that storm and do a little more. I call it the arrow tracker. It just kind of really gets you a little more specific. Let's see here, 30 miles an hour. So St. Joe, we're probably going to see this rotation either right on top of you or just south in about 5 minutes. Burkesville to Madonnaville, hail. You're getting hail, stay inside, away from windows. You're going to miss this rotation. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Tipton. Tipton is going to be in about 11 minutes, again, on or maybe just south of town. And then it's going to cross in Monroe County, Illinois, Route 3. That would be in 16 minutes. And there's Redbud, and I'm covering it up, 22 minutes. So 16 minutes crossing Illinois Route 3. And then here's Redbud in about 22 minutes, confirmed by radar. And before I exit off of this storm, I want to check that debris tracker one more time. Yep, it's still there. That's even stronger signature. See that blue right there? What's happening is the radar is actually pinging off of debris in the air. So instead of seeing raindrops and hail, it's showing the maybe tree branches and tiles that are in the air. Let's switch back up to the north and check in on the storm that was headed towards, it's actually going to kind of miss the airport. Hold on, new tornado warning coming in.
This is a Jefferson County tornado warning?
New tornado warning. This is brand new, and it's southern Jefferson County. It's south of Festus. It's right over DeSoto, and it looks like there's two areas. It's the one just southeast of DeSoto. So you've got the Maystown, Illinois tornado right here, and then you've got another potential tornado right here. If you're in DeSoto, definitely be headed for the basement or that tornado safe room on the lowest level of your house apartment complex, lowest level in as many walls between you and the outside. That would head towards Planton, and it would be south of Festus. Let me put the loop on that. Okay. So that's a brand new tornado warning that just came out southeast of, really just south of town. And if I zoom in on it a little bit, you'll see the hook. It's real obvious. There's two hooks. This one is not tornadic. That's not tornadic. This is the one that is, and it's just southeast of DeSoto, south of 110. All right, let's get back to that storm that you said we've got eyes on it from the airport, right?
It's not looking as good as it was just a moment ago, which is what we want to see. We want
great.
to see that weakening. So positive news there. The latest picture that I took, it was much tighter before.
So air goes up into storms, and sometimes it forms what we call scud clouds, S-C-U-D, scud. Ragged-looking clouds here that can look scary, SLC we call them sometimes, scary-looking clouds, but that is not a tornado. There's definitely some scary-looking clouds, and it's definitely turbulent, but that is not rotating, and that's not going to produce a tornado. Now, that said, I still have to analyze that storm and get a better look. It still has a tornado warning on it. I'm going to switch over to the Doppler winds, and I don't see a real strong signature. If it would be right around 370, and even then, I really think the signature has weakened quite a bit. I'm going to switch over to that terminal Doppler. This is a radar that's a shorter range that helps for wind shear at the airport, and when it's nearby, sometimes you can get a real closer high-res look. I'm seeing strong winds, but I'm not seeing any real strong rotation out of that. But again, going to monitor that from the BJC Skycam network and First Alert radar. Both tools plus our crews on the ground helping to give you the first alert on what's coming next. And right now it looks like this is a radar indicated tornado warning as opposed to a radar confirmed tornado warning in Maystown, Illinois, where radar is actually seen a debris in the air. So we can use the radar to actually see the debris. And then we have rotation that's just southeast of DeSoto.
And check the debris tracker with that one.
Will do.
It looks, just within the last 2 scans, it does look like it's.
Yeah, I think that's more in the inflow notch because I think the rotation is a little more back here. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I'll zoom in a little bit closer. But even that first sign of the one over Maystown was a little deceiving and then became more obvious, but it's definitely something that's worth looking at. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's go. Yeah, so that is right about here, whereas the tornadoes, if there is a tornado, is right about here. And you've got the hook echo right here. That's going to cross 67, where 110 hits 67. So this is in between DeSoto and Platten. And if you're in DeSoto, the rotation is now east of you. So you're in the clear from this particular storm. But stay with us. There's more storms out there. And that's something I want to do is just give you that big picture view here without any kind of warnings on it, at least for now, and just see what we've got. Several of these storms lined up, especially some of these areas like Maystown. You're going to get hit by another storm. Festus, you're going to get hit by another storm. So some of these areas that have been in tornado warnings, that have been in several severe thunderstorm warnings, are going to get hit by multiple storms. And then, of course, this is the storm that we're watching. We'll have to watch that back edge to see if that rotation strengthens. It is a tornado warning right now, but the rotation has weakened quite a bit. Let's see, Weather Service is saying they do believe we saw debris on radar, so kind of confirming that tornado debris signature, but we haven't had a ground truth in Maystown, Illinois to confirm that. Now I'm going to switch over to the warnings. So again, big picture here, just north of our coverage area too. Notice that tornado warning, just skirting northern Macoupin County. But there's 3 tornado warnings, and this one in St. Louis has the weaker rotation, but almost 100,000 people in that warning. And then we've got the one that's just southeast of DeSoto. It's about 34,000 people. And then the one in Maystown we know is a tornado. That's in Monroe County. So we've got 10,000 that are impacted by that warning. And of course, some are impacted by an actual tornado on the ground. So let's zoom back down into that storm. Maystown, Illinois. I'd say, let me double check, but you're probably very close to being in the clear from this rotation. Before I double check that, I just want to point out that you've got this rotation coming. And if it goes a little north, so Maystown, radar confirmed tornado. And then we've got radar indicated, so we don't know if it is, right here. So this is what I mean by some areas get hit. Don't go outside to inspect damage. You got to wait until things really settle down. Wait till the rain stops. We've got rain, lightning, hail, and of course, in some cases, maybe even another tornado. We'll zoom back down to Maystown and show you just to the east where it's headed, St. Joe. So I think Burkesville in the clear, that's just going to be hail. St. Joe to Tipton, tornado coming your way. It is east of Maystown. So if you're in Maystown, come up from the basement. Maybe you turn down the TV and turn down the volume. I always say turn up the volume so that you can hear us down the basement, or maybe you were down in the basement and you were watching us on the live stream on the First Alert 4 weather app. You can come up And then just stay alert, because we have another storm coming in from the southwest we're going to have to monitor for you. And then from St. Joe to Tipton, you still need to be in your tornado safe shelter. Abby, tell me again what we've got. We've got crews in the field and cameras. In fact, let's take, you want to take that camera for me? This is from 360 at Westport Plaza on the BJC Skycam network. As we look at the clouds in the distance there, this is from around Maryland Heights, and so far, Maryland Heights, while avoiding the big storms, has seen kind of a view of the rotating storm out in St. Charles County, and to the north especially is where we've seen that. All right, thanks for that, Abby, appreciate it. All right, so we gave you kind of the big picture, zoomed in on a couple storms. I also just want to remind you, Tornado Watch goes until 9 p.m. So we're going to be on guard for a few more hours here, and we're going to keep going. It takes a team. Meteorologist Leah Hill is here. She's doing a great job of keeping an eye on some of the storms that I'm not focused on, so that we can bring you the first alert when new warnings come out. And I did mention that I noticed a new tornado warning that was just skirting north of our coverage area. And I got to tell you, if you're in Verden, you should be inside away from windows. That hook right there is coming your way. It's barely in our coverage area, but they may be relying on us. So I just want to mention that. If you're in Palmyra and Macoupin County, you're safe from that rotation. Verden, be inside away from windows, and that's going to go into Montgomery County. I think is Raymond, Boys Dark is there. But so that's going to skirt right across Macoupin County line there. And that is radar indicated at this point, too.
Could I give an update on that? There's some updates to that tornado warned storm that's just starting to leave St. Charles County. We're seeing this too, and the Weather Service is seeing it also, but it's showing significant weakening.
Yeah.
And it looks like downstream they're planning on just keeping a severe thunderstorm warning.
So this section of the storm right there, where there was some rotation worthy of the tornado warning, we've been telling you all along, we've been watching it with the BJC Skycam network, not seeing anything lowering anymore to the ground. There was earlier. And the rotation was weakening. Now it looks really ragged and not organized. And so that is going to move into Alton. We still want to monitor this. Sometimes you can get these storms that flare up in intensity, and all of a sudden the rotation becomes strong again. New tornado warning coming in. Let's see where this one.
Oh,
I think
County.
I think they just issued one for this small section of Macoupin. We were just telling folks in Verden to get to the basement anyway, so now you're officially part of that tornado warning. So just a heads up there. And you'll see what a small sliver it is, from Verden to Boys Dark. And it may just go north of Boys Dark, if I'm saying that correctly. So Verden, definitely stay inside away from windows, down in the basement. Tornado safe shelter, because this hook right here is coming right around you. And then just north of Macoupin County is where the rest of that storm is, in a different Weather Service office. So they kind of had to work together, collaborate to get this. And the bottom line is we're keeping those folks safe. Okay, so Verden, stay in your safe shelter. Radar indicated tornado warning. I just caught, real quickly, I want to look at the radar data here. Nope, nothing real strong, but I just caught, a little hook here. These are the types of things we're dealing with today. The storms can easily rotate, and when that happens, sometimes you can see them on our cameras, and meteorologist Leah Hill has been tracking that with our BJC Skycam network.
Yeah, I've been updating the cameras a lot, and this view is coming from Edwardsville, and just a blanket of winds, a west to east wind coming across the screen. So even if there's not a tornado, or maybe there's not hail, there is still a wind risk with all of these storms. And with those severe thunderstorm warnings, we issue them when we see hail signatures. They're issued when the National Weather Service sees signatures also for wind. So likely winds as high as 60 miles per hour within the storm. And this is again in Edwardsville. And I can pull up a view here of where that storm is located. Here's Edwardsville on the screen. So it is looking off into that storm that's coming into the Spanish Lake area, and that's where the winds are coming from. Steve, we're going to send it back to you, but I'll keep an eye on the storm near Edwardsville, and also keep my eye on that storm near Spanish Lake that we just have a severe thunderstorm warning at.
And then we've got some pictures coming in of hail. This one from Kari in Lake St. Louis. Oof. Look at that. I mean, that's some big hail that made that hole right there. We've been telling you golf ball or larger. We even said teacup at one time. Look at this again. Same viewer here showing us another damage. I mean, that's two gigantic holes in that car. And then there's a nice almost orange size. You see how See how rough that hail is? It looks like it's made up of smaller pieces of hail. That's why. It's exactly what it is. Those smaller pieces of hail stick together when they're bobbing up and down in the storm. That's what makes hail much larger. Sometimes it gets smoothed over, but even on this one sent in by Steve in Wentzville, man, that is some huge hail. You can see how it looks like they're smaller, almost nickel-sized or quarter-sized hail on the outside. That's what the bumpiness is, but they all kind of stick together when they're going through the updrafts and downdrafts in the storm and bobbing up and down and growing bigger and bigger and sticking together, and that's how you end up with the huge hail. More of it in Wentzville. They got hit really hard by the hail side of it while we were tracking the rotation south of Wentzville. There's another big one, too, that's about 2.5-inch diameter. What would that be, Leah? 2.5?
2.5,
That's
that would
almost
be
3.
tennis ball size hail.
Tennis ball size
Tennis
hail.
ball, yeah, if it's approaching 2.75, that's baseball size hail.
Wow,
So.
wow. So huge, huge hail that we've confirmed from Wentzville. South side of that storm is what we were tracking for rotation. That rotation looks much weaker. So even though you see a red box here, I don't have it circled because the Weather Service has said, hey, we see that it's weaker too. We're just going to make it a severe thunderstorm warning that's over Alton. If you're in Alton, if you're in Godfrey, yeah, we're going to monitor that really closely. If we see it flare up again, we'll be there for you. In the meantime, we have 2 tornado warnings down to the south. The one that was hitting southeast of DeSoto, we'll zoom in on, and then the one near Maystown has actually weakened. That's good news for our friends around Tipton that storm was headed towards, but those are 2 more areas we need to investigate. One is it's now south of Festus. So if you're in Festus, you may have sirens going off. Again, the first round is when the rotation went right over you. That turned into the tornado that hit Maystown. And now the rotation, let's see, it's weaker and it's well south of you. So you're in the hail and heavy rain in Festus and Crystal City. Down south into around Selma is where you're dealing with the threat for rotation and maybe a tornado. It is looking a little weaker right now, but we'll continue to monitor that. Let me just look at the loop here and see. You can see how it's been going through Platten and then right about here is if there's a tornado, it would develop in this area crossing 55. By the way, that area as it moves east would be south of Maystown. So if you're in Maystown, you just got hit and you're wondering, are we going to get hit again? No, not from this one. You're going to get hit by rain, lightning, and hail, but this is actually going to move more towards Fultz. Again, not a real strong rotation. The strongest of all has actually weakened, but it is still a strong rotation headed towards Redbud. So if you're in Redbud, definitely still want to be inside, away from windows, and down to the basement. That rotation's just to the west of you. It's right in this area here, and it's moving east, I believe, at about 35 miles per hour. Let's put a track on that. I've got it at 30. We've got it getting to Illinois Route 3. That's in about 4 minutes. And then Redbud, I think last time I checked in with you, it was 20 minutes, so we cut that in half. Now we're down to 9 minutes. Be inside, away from windows, down in the basement in Redbud, even if it's a weaker signature. So earlier it was a confirmed tornado by radar. So that tag they put on the warning, that's been removed because it doesn't look like we're seeing that debris anymore. And I'll check in on the debris tracker and see what that looks like. I'll tell you, that still looks pretty strong to me. Like I said, if you're in Redbud, let me see where that lines up though with the actual rotation. That's pretty close. So if you're in Redbud, definitely in the basement, even though maybe we've seen a little weakening in the rotation, I think this thing can still be hitting the ground and producing some debris and some damage. And that right now is our strongest signature out there. The one southwest that was south of Festus, it started kind of near DeSoto. There it is right there. That's much weaker. That doesn't look as strong. This one coming at Redbud that did hit Maystown is our strongest tornadic signature, but we don't have any confirmation right now on that. We got pea-size hail in Troy occurring right now, too. Let's see.
And that tornado warning that was moving over the, the North County, Spanish Lake kind of area, Alton, that has been dropped, that tornado warning, so they're leaving it as a severe thunderstorm warning. And I do have a picture of that storm from one of our cameras in BJC1.
BJC1, okay.
Yeah,
oh,
so
you
here,
got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can see this is the cloud. This is the base of the cloud, but it's very elevated. But that's just the outer layer of this, or the outer edge of the storm. And I'm not seeing any lowerings from this. I also want to provide some quick clarification because we've been talking about the hail sizes that are up to tennis ball size, even baseball size hail. And typically, those would send off emergency alerts on your phone for a destructive thunderstorm. So that's when we see that baseball size hail. And that's when we see potentially 80-mile-per-hour winds, either or. But in this case, because we had that large hail and because your phones were already going off for the tornado warning, no additional emergency alert was sent to your phone for the destructive thunderstorm. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarification. We were just sending, or the National Weather Service are the ones who trigger the warning. They were just sending out one alert for the tornado warning, not for the destructive thunderstorm that we clearly had with that large hail. Again, that was up to baseball size. So I'll keep my eye on that.
That's interesting you mentioned that. One of the things we do here at First Alert 4 is when we know it's a higher end severe threat, we put these, we kind of differentiate the warnings with little different colors. You saw that earlier with a confirmed radar tornado, and it had the black box around the red box, so it kind of told us something's different about this. This looks different, right? Something's different. What that is exactly what Leah was talking about, but instead of baseball-sized hail, this is 80-mile-per-hour or faster winds. That's coming towards Reynolds County, so we got to keep an eye on that, Leah, too, down to the south. So that would be that, they call it destructive, because it's a higher end severe thunderstorm warning, and they want to send that alert to phones to make sure that people get the heads up. And that's why we're going to stay on the air and continue to give the first alert on what's going on with a lot of storms. There's kind of three regions here, if you will, in the big picture. So one of them is really right along the cold front, and that's right here. All those storms are along the cold front. This was Verden that had to be in your basement for a radar indicated tornado warning, and then these are severe thunderstorm warnings. So there's the cold front. We'll watch for more rotation. New storms can rotate and new tornado warnings may be issued. Out ahead of that, we had an outflow boundary from morning storms, so that rain cool there, it can act like a cold front kind of. It can trigger storms and enhance rotation. That's what happened, and that's why we're getting these storms that are rotating and producing large hail. Rotating storms don't always produce tornadoes, but they can also produce the large hail like what we saw out around Wentzville from the baseball-sized hail. So this cluster here, there's a third one, and that's where I mentioned that destructive severe thunderstorm warning that would be coming towards Reynolds County. And of course, some of this, as this fills in and comes at St. Louis, could be kind of another round that hits St. Louis. Let's zoom in a little bit more on the St. Louis metro here, because we had some storms kind of flare up really quickly. And I haven't mentioned some of these severe thunderstorm warnings, but the cores are hitting like Alton right now. Looks like Edwardsville might just be clipped by that. You want to put the SIUE BJC Skycam maybe in BJC2, and I can take a peek at that. And just let me know when that's up. And was that Alton you were looking at, by the way, earlier with the lower?
That was the North County Spanish Lake.
Good, okay.
Edwardsville's up.
Takes a team. Leah's on it. I'll tell you. Thank you very much. And so this is just rain. That's not a tornado, but this is the BJC Skycam network from Edwardsville. But you see the dark clouds, the downpour, and potential for damaging winds and large hail. That's it. We're not seeing rotation out of that storm. So that's good news. You're just seeing yellow boxes. If I'm not mentioning your town and you're hearing thunder and you're hearing heavy rain, be inside and away from windows. That's all you need. And be thankful that we're not talking about your town like we have been about Maystown, where likely a tornado did hit the ground, confirmed by the debris tracker on radar. So we have a lot of storms, heavy rain, potential for damage from winds. But right now, as far as tornadoes go, the two spots we're monitoring are just southeast of DeSoto here, and another one that's now east of Maystown, a third one near Verden as well. So First Alert 4.
This is a new tornado warning coming out.
And it's an extension. It's that Maystown. It still looks strong, doesn't it?
And it's also saying hail up to 2 inches, and I'm looking to see